This is the Palin Update on SarahNet Radio. I'm Kevin Scholla.
They knew they might have to make the ultimate sacrifice, but they believed it was worth it to sacrifice all for a future generation's freedom.
Sarah Palin honors Vietnam veterans who paid the ultimate price at a Cost of Freedom event in Arizona this past week. SarahNet Radio was there. We'll have a full recap. Former New Jersey State Senator Dick LaRossa is here to talk about how conservatives and Republicans should approach the midterm elections and address their image, plus his desire to get Sarah Palin in the Garden State. Governor Palin again tries to point the wobbly GOP in the right direction. Palin makes her stance on new taxes crystal clear. While many continue to ignore Benghazi, Governor Palin keeps pressing for answers, and she compliments those who are also demanding the truth. Plus, Palin dissects the IRS controversy. Just ahead, our latest edition of Steel Resolve with Sarah Steelman. Right now, we welcome in Dick LaRossa, a man who served 2 terms in the New Jersey Senate, and he's no stranger to my line of work. LaRossa was a television personality specializing in lottery drawings. He also is a talented music guy. We'll touch on that, too. We're happy to have you here today, Senator. How are you?
Kevin, glad to be with you.
You think Republicans need an overhaul, an extreme makeover, if you will, and some of it is image, the titles used to describe themselves and others. What have you noticed?
Well, what I've noticed is there are too many labels that Republicans keep handing keep putting on each other, and they put them on themselves. When you get into a primary, they always say that you have to out-conservative the next person, and then you have to move to the middle. The bottom line is then, of course, the Democrats, they need to out-liberal each other, and then they move to the middle. And they're all labels, conservative, liberal, middle, etc. The problem is that if we're going to keep trying to label the positions that we're reflecting, what it really boils down to are traditional values. And I think if the Republicans would get off of their high horse and stop worrying about who's going to be more conservative than another and start talking about traditional values rather than labels, not only would they get their own people to start voting for them, they would probably have a better opportunity to get the Democrats to come over and start getting onto the same pathway, because there are more Democrats that believe in traditional values than believe in the liberal or the ultra-liberal values.
It's interesting how you map that out. It's almost like they have a little playbook. You said be conservative in the primary, then move to the middle. We already have a guy reading a teleprompter all the time. This sounds like they're auditioning for a play. Whatever happened to just answering questions and honestly coming up with solutions and giving people your stance on issues?
Well, I think you hit the key word on the head, and that is what happened to honesty. I think honesty has flown out of the political system, and what's happening is how can a Republican make a Democrat look bad, and how can a Democrat make a Republican look bad? The days of actually doing the people's work, unfortunately, I think are in the rearview mirror. We need an overhaul not only of the Republicans and Democrats, we need an overhaul of our entire political system, and that's going to have to start with people believing in traditional values rather than labels.
We've seen Governor Palin keep away from the labels. She's gone after, in a good way, folks with character. She's supported some incumbents, mostly outsiders, but a lot of times incumbents if she thinks they are the best person. She's also gotten to the primaries and have talked about Republicans who aren't doing the job. So she certainly is not worrying just about party label and, walking the line. So perhaps people can take a look to Alaska and learn a few things.
Well, I think when you come right down to that concept and you say, she's talking about values, but what are values other than traditional values? And I think she's absolutely dead on the money when she does that. And I'm glad she's really blazing a new path. And hopefully more people, whether they be Tea Party, which is another label, independent, another label, conservative, another label, liberal, another label, will begin to realize that it's all about values. What do we value the most? Do we value our freedom? Do we value our Constitution? And I think that Governor Palin is really blazing a trail, and hopefully it'll be the trail that people will begin to wake up and see that it's the right way to go.
Speaking of Governor Palin, you'd like to see her in the Garden State, wouldn't you?
I'd love to see her in the Garden State. I think she is a magnet. We probably have, I think that last count, something like 80 to 100 Tea Party groups. And if I put the word out there that we're going to bring Governor Palin in, I think you would see an outpouring of tremendous support for her across the board. Now, what might happen is the Republican intelligentsia may not be right there, but I guarantee you is that the people who believe in traditional values would come out in droves.
Yeah, and a lot of people across the country who may have never lived in New Jersey or been to New Jersey, you know, they only get the Sopranos side, if you will, the parts closest to New York City. They don't realize there's a lot of rural communities up in the Northwest where people care very much about their firearms, or the beach communities down south. New Jersey, third smallest state in the nation, but you have every walk of life there and every type of area. So, you know, I certainly know, I lived in New Jersey for years myself, people who would absolutely love to see the governor there.
Well, New Jersey is a unique place, and it's a place that within 90 minutes drive, you have beaches, you have major metropolitan areas in New York and Philadelphia. Baltimore isn't that far away. You have skiing in the winter, beaches in the summer, baseball with the Giants. You're close to the Phillies, the Mets, and the Knicks, as well as the New York Yankees. Everything is so doggone close, and again, we would love to bring Governor Palin in because she would be another huge appeal. And of course, next year we have the Super Bowl coming to the Meadowlands in New Jersey as well. But I think Governor Palin could be the cherry on the sundae.
Now, New Jersey's been a blue state for a while, but we shouldn't give up on these states, should we? We see, you mentioned Maryland, we see Dan Bongino there making a lot of waves in Maryland. You see some other blue states, New York, California. It almost seems like everybody's just been punched in the gut, anyone who has the values that you're talking about, and has kind of stepped aside and said, forget it. Whereas I can see here, despite some of the outcomes in national elections in recent history, you think there are people in New Jersey who would come around if the message is out there in the right way.
Well, I think that's very true. My first election, I beat a 15-year Democrat incumbent in what was one of the first or second most heavily registered Democrat districts in the entire state. In fact, the city of Trenton, the first go-round, I lost by 3,000 votes. The second go-round, I only lost by 285 votes, which is a major metropolitan area. So if the message is right and the candidate is right, I think that there's more than a golden opportunity. But again, if you keep throwing, Republican in the Democrat's face and say, vote Republican, or you want to demagogue and demonize the Democrats, you can't win in New Jersey unless Democrats vote for you, which is why you've got to get rid of the labels and get back to values and traditional values. And that's where I think Governor Palin would be a major coup in terms of spreading that particular message.
Yeah, you'd never know it by the way the media covers her, but she had plenty of Democrat support in Alaska, and she was able to work with all sorts of Americans. Let's direct everyone to your website, Senator, and tell us what you're doing with your group.
Well, the website is www.solutionsfornewjersey.org. It's a 501c3, and what we're looking at are ways to deal with the issues that are confronting New Jersey, which in many instances are issues that are confronting the nation. We're dealing with charity care, we're dealing with government debt, we're dealing with crime, and property taxes and school funding. We actually have ideas out there that are not just talking about it, but solutions to things like school funding, solutions to charity care, ergo the name Solutions for New Jersey. And I find it interesting, not that I would blame them, but I believe it was the Heritage Foundation that launched a site or a branch of their operation, which is Solutions for America. I will tell you that Solutions for New Jersey did come first.
There you go. Look at this trailblazer. Our mutual friend Lynn in Texas, she calls you quite a character, and I concur in a good way. Now,
I appreciate that.
People may not know about your talents outside of being a patriot. You were on TV for a while, and the lottery was at the forefront of what you were doing.
Well, the running joke was that I was the TV host for the New Jersey lottery drawing from 1980 through 1992, and the running joke was that I made a living reading numbers off of ping pong balls. So I figured if Ronald Reagan could get to the White House with 30 Mule Team Borax, we're still trying to figure out what the ping pong balls are going to do for me.
One at bedtime for Bonzo, the other one here, sort of a bedtime lottery numbers before everybody hit the hay, right?
Well, what was funny is how you always see, elect so-and-so or vote for so-and-so in an election. Well, because we had the drawing names, which were pick 3, pick 4, pick 5, we had pick Dick. So, the idea is making the association with the lottery, because the Dick LaRossa that was doing the lottery, people never made the connection that it was the same person that was running for office. So we maintained my nickname, which is how I was identified on TV, and trying to make the marriage between the two. Take advantage of it any way you can.
That's great. And your music background, what's this singing senator moniker?
Geez, I spent, actually, who did Lynn tell you that too?
I'm not saying anything. I'm just asking the questions.
Yeah, well, I spent.
And no, she didn't. She did not, though.
Yeah, you did some research.
I did the digging on you, yeah.
Okay. I spent almost 30 years singing with an 18-piece swing band. I'm classically trained. The fellow I studied with actually taught at the Met for a long time. And the running joke was, I was referred to as the singing senator. And the tongue-in-cheek comment was that we had a senator that had retired, and one of the assembly people was moving up, and his name was Bob Singer. And I said, I really want to see him take that post. And they said, why? I said, well, then we would have Senator Singer, and we would have the singing senator. So.
Well, listen, all seriousness, you're a great American. We got a chance to get together at the Terry Schiavo event recently with Governor Palin there, and I know that your heart and your mind is in the right place, and I would love to see Governor Palin in New Jersey myself, and I wish you the best here with this effort, and I know there's a lot of other great patriots in New Jersey who would get on board with this in a moment, and we'll see what happens. But New Jersey, would they be ready for a Sarah Palin big event? It could be huge.
I think it would be enormous. I think that a few people who I brought to the event, the Terry Schiavo event, were not big fans of the governor, and when they left, totally convinced. So to really understand Governor Palin is really to get to hear her firsthand and not have her image be painted by the liberal and mainstream media. And there we go with our labels again, don't we?
You're right about that, though. I saw that just today, a post about the governor, and you see these nasty comments, personal attacks, and then someone else would ask the person writing that, you're not talking about policy at all. You're not talking about anything she's actually done. Let's hear you rip her on that. And then, of course, nothing. So if you do actually look at her great accomplishments and her unique style, it's pretty hard to walk away with a straight face and say that she's not on the ball.
I think she is tremendously on the ball. She's incredibly bright. She makes a great visual presentation. And the thing is that, you always see these guys who are on TV with Fox and so on, but, she did almost an hour speech at the Life and Hope event and did not miss a beat. I mean, she was so incredibly engaging. It's impossible for someone who really is doing an objective evaluation not to come away incredibly impressed by that lady.
Well, Senator, we appreciate you coming on tonight, and if we do get Governor Palin out in New Jersey at some point, perhaps you could sing a little bit as an opening act.
Let's leave it with Governor Palin, because we don't want to start on a down note.
That wouldn't send her running right away? She wouldn't even come out, you think?
I think she'd run for the hills.
Senator Dick LaRossa, thanks so much.
Thank you, Kevin. Take care.
More from Senator LaRossa at solutionsfornewjersey.org. This past week in Arizona, the Cost of Freedom Tribute and Traveling Wall made a stop in the town of Buckeye. The exhibit is designed to show support for American men and women in uniform. The American Veterans Traveling Tribute is a nonprofit organization that honors our courageous service members. The Traveling Wall is a replica of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall in Washington, D.C. Along with paying respect to veterans and active duty military, the group also recognizes police officers, firefighters, and other heroes. Before the event, Sarah Palin posted on social media, "We will never forget the sacrifice made by these brave heroes, and they are forever memorialized in Washington, D.C. and on the Traveling Wall Memorial." Well, when Palin delivered remarks in person at the event held at the Earl Edgar Recreational Facility, she spoke with the same respect and thankfulness. We get a recap from Arizona now, and SARANET radio correspondent Gabriela Saucedo-Mercer.
Thanks, Kevin. Sarah Palin came to Buckeye, Arizona. Buckeye has a population of approximately 65,000 people, mainly an agricultural town in the outskirts of Phoenix. Green fields everywhere you look. It also reminded me of a bedroom community, but they have the normal shopping amenities that you see in most of Arizona's cities. The traveling Vietnam Wall was set up in a nice community park. Lots of people showed up throughout the day. During the school hours, 5 school buses full of children came to visit the traveling memorial. Alongside the replica of the Vietnam Wall, there were several displays of pictures. There were pictures of all the United States presidents, then pictures of several wars. On the other side, they had a small wall with dog tags glued to some boards with all the names of all the fallen heroes from Iraq and Afghanistan. I found the names of 3 of my daughter's friends, 3 Marines who were killed on August 10, 2012. My daughter was embedded with these men, Special Forces Marines, when she was in Afghanistan for 11 months. The patriotism could be felt everywhere, from the veterans I ran into and all the people who came to visit the memorial. At about 6:30 p.m., Governor Palin arrived. She gave a well-received speech, just under 11 minutes long. Her speech was all about honoring our veterans, specifically the 6 from Buckeye, Arizona, who died in Vietnam. After Governor Palin spoke, there were other speakers, a blind veteran who lost his sight during an explosion while in Vietnam, and the families of the 6 honored were presented with flags, a true showing of patriotism in Arizona. For SarahNet Radio, I am Gabriela Saucedo Mercer.
Palin's speech was straight from the heart.
We gather here today to witness a moving monument to heroes from this very town.
Palin spoke specifically about some locals who laid down their lives for freedom.
We honor 6 men from Buckeye, Arizona today who served something greater than self. They made the ultimate sacrifice far from home. Donald Robert Elmore, James Dell Laser, Geronimo Lerma, Alan Theodore Macon II, Darrell Monroe Pickett, and Herman Scherna.
An emotional Governor Palin appeared to tear up. She then apologized to the crowd.
This is why it's tough for me to get through these. Forgive me for this. Todd texted me right before the speech. He says, "I'm praying for your speech. So glad you're there to honor the troops." And I texted back, "Yeah, pray for me, okay, Todd, because you know how I get when I'm with our vets."
Veterans of Vietnam were often treated horribly upon returning home. Governor Palin did not shy away from this shameful chapter of history.
There is a special place in our hearts for our Vietnam vets because they were never given the welcome home that they deserved. And for that, gentlemen, patriots, I am sorry that you were not given that welcome home that you deserved.
And Palin asked Americans to continue to honor and thank our veterans.
They are the special ones. They are unique. They have been selfless. They have been brave. Their sacrifices are what make this country possible. And friends, we must never forget that our freedom was purchased by millions of men, now long forgotten throughout our history.
While putting a special emphasis on Vietnam, Palin also praised veterans of all wars, from Normandy to the deserts of Iraq to the mountains of Afghanistan and, yes, the jungles of Vietnam. After the ceremony was over, Governor Palin was reportedly supposed to take off, but she agreed to instead walk down from the stage to shake hands, take pictures, and sign books that people had brought with them, Palin demonstrating once again just how gracious she is with her time despite incredible restraints. This past week, Governor Palin had a clear message for Republicans, saying, House GOP, please get it together. We're against new taxes. Ask yourself if you were elected to raise taxes. You weren't. Hold firm. Palin also posted several other messages on taxes saying no new taxes and calling for this new tax increase, the internet sales tax, to be stopped in the House. Governor Palin tipped her hat to the Great One, commending Mark Levin for being right all along, this after the IRS finally apologized to Tea Party groups. The governor also thanked Stephen Hayes, Jonathan Karl, and others in the media who are exposing the truth about Benghazi. While many, are covering fluff pieces or slanted news, some are actually standing up for our Americans who are left to die in Libya. To read any of Palin's posts in their entirety, check out Sarah Palin on Facebook or on Twitter at Sarah Palin USA. Now, our weekly commentary, Steel Resolve. Here's Sarah Steelman.
Thanks, Kevin. The focus this week has been on the Benghazi hearings, and for good reason. Contrary to what Hillary thinks, it does make a difference to understand why events went down the way they did that night. Understanding the why and what went wrong will prevent it from happening in the future. That is what Americans are concerned about. However, what is very disturbing is that there are no Democrats willing to stand up to Hillary and hold her and the Obama administration accountable. It is not good for either side to politicize this tragedy. But let's face it, most of the Democrats are just spouting the administration's lines about how the Republicans are politicizing it and trying to ruin Hillary Clinton's potential run for president. Isn't there one Democrat willing to be outraged about what happened? Isn't there one Democrat who wants the truth? Isn't there one Democrat willing to challenge the status quo and fight for what is right? This is why Washington is broken, because not one Democrat has the courage to stand up to the Clinton-Obama machine to find out the truth of the matter. Democrats should remember Lincoln's words, "I am a firm believer in the people. If given the truth, they can be depended upon to meet any national crisis. The great point is to bring them the real facts." This is Sarah Steelman for SarahNet Radio.
Tune in again next week for another segment of Steel Resolve right here on the Palin Update. And don't forget, the Palin Update, including Steel Resolve, is now on demand and available for download. So just head to SarahNetRadio.net, pick the show you want to hear, and you can listen anywhere, anytime. Well, that'll just about do it for this edition of the Palin Update on SarahNet Radio. Visit SarahNetRadio.net for continuing coverage of Governor Palin. Also, follow along on Twitter at SarahNet Radio, at Kevin Scholla, and at Sarah_Steelman. We're on Facebook, so be sure to like SarahNet Radio and like Kevin Scholla. Palin Patriots is our new feature on SarahNet.net. Check out the writings from our great panel of contributors, including Martha Zoller. And I'm doing some writing for Breitbart News. Just go to Breitbart.com and search Kevin Scholla. I want to thank Sarah Steelman, Gabriela Saucedo-Mercer, and everyone here at SarahNet Radio. Thanks to Senator Dick LaRossa, and thank you for listening today. Please be sure to join us again next time for another edition of the Palin Update. I'm Kevin Scholla. Have a pleasant day.